or deeply antisocial libertarians to culture. And the really fucked up thing is, that's not just Republicans. It's all Americans. It doesn't matter where in America you go. You can go to wealthy or poor neighborhoods, cities or rural, black, white, Asian, Latin, whatever. There are like undercurrents of selfishness in this culture that are just unlike what you would get in a comparably developed country. We're just very self-centered. I'm not saying there aren't good Americans out there. Interpersonally, Americans are actually really friendly. What I mean is there's a difference between being friendly and interpersonal and being, in like a social sense, very self-centered. It's the kind of thing that means that like you can be in a town where people are chatty with each other and friendly, but the streets are filthy. Not only because people litter, but because no one wants to shell out the tax dollars to pay for cleaning services, because their thought would be, why should I spend taxes to clean up something that I don't own? Like, I keep my house and car clean. I'm slowly realizing that America was already long lost before fascism. Well, I would argue that what I'm describing is like borderline a fascistic attitude towards public service. Hyper-individualism isn't fascistic, but the pretense of hyper-individualism in a way which is like, well, social service, civic service, making other people's lives better, work on yourself. That kind of individualism does lead to a fascistic mindset. No fascist thinks they're giving themselves over to the state. Every fascist thinks they're a rugged individualist who just happens to mindlessly obey their leaders. It's like a little mind trick. The Nazis were literally all about the nation before the individual. Yeah. That's what they were about. But that's not how they sold it. God's honest truth is that individualism is the most collectivist ideology out there, because the best way to maximize your chances of surviving and succeeding in life are to build into and contribute to collective systems that elevate everyone. The truth is, without society, everyone's just a hunter-gatherer wandering around in the woods. Everyone has basically the same ceiling to their life, which is not very far. If you really cared about like maximum personal attainment, you would want to build up systems that could increase the likelihood of you succeeding. Right? You want schools so you can get educated, your kids can get educated. You want roads so you can travel freely and easily. You want, to be fair, some kind of police and legal system, even if it costs a lot of money, because you want social disincentives to crime that aren't just like exile and lynching people, right? You build into all these systems and life gets better for everyone, even though, I don't know, 20% of your paycheck gets taken. Which, by the way, your paycheck is way the higher than it would be if none of these systems existed, because you wouldn't have a paycheck. You would be drying meat in the sun, which you can still do in real life today if you want to. And people will fantasize about doing it, but they're liars. They don't want to leave their computer. Everyone online who's like, well, why don't you go live in the woods, doesn't live in the woods, because they don't want to live in the woods. They want to LARP about living in the woods. So the truth is that like, phony individualism, which is about like everyone else, prioritize myself, basically guarantees for everyone, especially if everyone else buys into it, a lower standard of living.